What's up, YouTube, Facebook, all other social media channels? It's your boy Uncle Fred coming back once again in the house on this New Year's Eve for about uh, about 53 more minutes. So I'll be out y'all way in about like 15 or 20. Go ahead and hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Become a part of the Uncle Fred experience. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Oh, I got something to share with y'all. Woo! What y'all think about that? Don't that just give you some goosebumps? All right, let's get to we don't got time for that. Ooh, that's them actually playing it. I'm gonna play it twice. Once is enough. Once coming in, once going out. I think I hit the thing, is what it is. I got excited. All right, let's get to the nuts and bolts of this thing. All right, you know what the deal is. It's right before it's New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, and if you're an Alabama fan, you on pins and needles because we supposed to be playing, right? So, college football playoff, and the Final Four was announced: Alabama, Cincinnati, Michigan, and Georgia. So they put us on as the matinee. So we're going at 2:30. It's Alabama, Cincinnati. Now I want to apologize to the viewing public because I was supposed to have done a pregame and I was gonna do one. But I had been hearing all the stuff, man. And I was like, man, I got a bad feeling about this game, man. I read it on. I got a bad feeling about it because I've been listening to all the stuff. I mean, they really wanted Cincinnati to upset us, man. They really did. Oh man, it will be great for college football if they will somehow be able to upset the big bad, the big bad enemy, the big bad Alabama. It will be so good for college football, for the little Cinderella team to go in there and just, it would be great for college football. I'm like, dang, I kept seeing it all the time. Like, dang, they act like it's bad for college football if Alabama was to win to do what they supposed to do. Almost like it's bad for the earth for water to be wet or the sky to be blue or the wind to blow. That's kind of what they do, if you understand what I'm saying. So playing on New Year's Eve, playing, the goal, play for big stakes. It's what Alabama kind of does, man. Sorry. That's what we do. All right. And if you think it's bad for us to do what's in our nature to do, then the problem is on you. It's not on us. No, we're not bringing our game down to make you feel better. You need to get your game up to ours. That's what you need to do. So anyway, here comes Cincinnati. They come in. Don't get me wrong. They're a nice little team. They got some talent. They got Desmond Ridder. He's a first round quarterback. And he's gonna be drafted. He's gonna be playing on Sundays. He's good. He's good. He's been good all year. Threw for like 3,500 yards, like 25 touchdowns, like 8 interceptions. He's good. And then they got a pretty good offensive line, and And then on defense, they were good because they got two. I'm just gonna be like this. Their two cornerbacks are better than any two that we got. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna be straight fair with it. Kobe Bryant and I think Ahmad Gardner, I think is his name. Yeah, they're first round cornerbacks. They're gonna be playing, on Sundays as well, which is why we adopted the game plan that we did. So anyway, we rolled into the game and all these folks is talking about different things and stuff. And so game kicks off and we just kind of do what we do. Now, they come from the American Conference, the American something. I can't remember I can't think of the American, what the conference name is off the top of my head. I know it, but I can't think of it. As an outside of the power conference, representative. The first time one of them has made it into the CFP. Okay. So they come in there with a 12-1 record, a couple of impressive wins. They was able to go into South Bend and beat Notre Dame. I think it was like 31-14 or something like that. And Notre Dame only lost. That was their only loss of the season. They went in there and spanked them in their own building. Notre Dame was formidable. And then they beat Houston in their conference championship. Now, before you go knocking Houston, Houston did go in and beat Auburn in the Birmingham Bowl. So they did do that 17-13 if you need them. So they're credible. So they come into this game, and I've always said, and I was actually speaking with a brother today about that. I said, this, I don't know if I want it. It's what's going to happen. It's going to be Alabama and Georgia. And I don't want to see that no more. And I said, I see what you're saying, but dude, if them the two best teams, them the two best teams. You can't help what geographic location they come from. You can't let that, man. If you're simple enough to let that keep you from watching good football, then that's on you. But anyhow, they rolled into the game, and I told him, I said, now there is a difference in the levels. There's levels to this thing, okay? And of course, they're a good team on the top level. But the fun thing about this is when you start digging down in them layers, and you start getting them guys that coming in off the bench, and them guys coming off the bench are 4 stars and 5 stars coming off the bench. Depth becomes a problem. So Alabama comes in there, and notice the game plan was, now understand this, we down John Mechie, so we kind of short in the wide receiver department. Okay, now we got some 4 stars and 5 stars on the bench. Now Ja'Cory Brooks is, I think, a 4-star, but he ain't had much playing time. And a lot of people like to adopt this next man up mentality. John Mechie go down. Kind of hard to replace a dude with 100 catches. He got 100 catches. All right, 100 catch guys don't come off trees. You can't just bring the next guy in. You can replace 100 catch worth of production. Can't really do that, okay? But Ja'Cory Brooks came in and did his thing too. But that ain't what we did, though. We came in and was like, look, we bigger and badder than y'all on the lines of scrimmage, and we're gonna exploit that. And I'm gonna tell you how I know that they're bigger and badder on. But they came in and they ran that thing, and then ran it, and then ran it, and then ran it, and then ran it. Matter of fact, the first 10 plays from the line of scrimmage were runs covering like 62 yards, and got down in the red zone and play fake and Slay Bolden touchdown, just like that, 7-0 Bama. And just like that, I feel like Forrest Gump. And just like that, it's 7-0 Bama. And just like that, they had enough points already to win the game. It's over already. But they kept on playing, and so what they adopted to play this game, and I'm not going to go into it because it was such a business-like approach that we went and we did when we adopted to employ today. They ran the ball. As a matter of fact, they ran it 47 times. They had ran it 47 times at no point this season, okay? Because understanding, you got two. Matter of fact, Kobe Bryant, the guy that is the cornerback for Cincinnati, was the Jim Thorpe Award winner. Okay, and the other guy, Ahmad Gardner, has not given up a touchdown in his career at corner since he's been in Cincinnati. So those guys are good corners. So it's like, well, why? Well, when we're kind of limited at wide receiver, let's just play the running game and kind of go some play action. And that's what they did. Okay. And so that's how they was able to, keep drives going. Jameson did okay. Not Jameson, but Bryce did okay. He was 17 of 28 for 181 yards. That's an okay game because he just managed the game, because that wasn't the game plan to beat Cincinnati. They can line up and just manhandle Cincinnati. That's what they did, to the tune of 301 yards rushing, okay, on 47 carries. Okay. Now, all the touchdowns came through the air, but getting to the red zone, we did it by ground. And then once we got into the red zone, we went by air. See, it was just like, FedEx. Sometimes you go by ground, and sometimes you got to go by air. So we implemented, the ground game between the 20s. And then once we get inside the 20s, we use the air game. So that's how we was able to win today. But the defense, though, now, Cincinnati was the 9th ranked team offensively in NCAA this year. And they have held to 218 yards, 13 first downs. Okay. All right. And 2 out of 12 on third downs, and an 0 of 4 on fourth downs. So total domination. It was 7-0, and it was 7-3 because Cincinnati came right back down and drove down the field. And they a very impressive drive. They drove about 70 yards and kicked a field goal, and that's about as close as it got. And then because next, we actually missed a field goal. Will Reichert actually missed a field goal, and it stayed like 7-3. Then it was 10-3. Then it was 17-3 at halftime. And then I think they kicked the field goal on the first drive, their first drive of the second half, to make it 17-6. And then right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, Bryce Young hits Cameron Latu, the backup tight end, with a 9-yard touchdown pass that made it 24-6. And then they tacked on a late field goal later to make it 27-6. And then for all practical purposes, that it was over. So let me just tell you how I know that they dominated. And then that was what I was trying to tell the buddy I was talking to. I said, man, everybody want to talk all the SEC stuff. All the SEC. I said, well, look, man, I'm just saying, maybe not all the way down through the SEC, but at the very top of the SEC, that's where the best football is played. And I know I'm speaking of ourselves. I'm speaking of Georgia. And, of course, the guy he was talking to was saying that folks, maybe a two-win loss team in the SEC should have been in the CFP because Cincinnati obviously wasn't good enough. I'm like, I ain't going to go that far. But you saw as the game progressed, there's definitely a physicality difference between what we do and what they do. Because I don't think there's no SEC team we could play where we can line up and run 10 straight times and get down and go like 60 yards on 10 straight plays and just run it and just run it and just run it and getting 5, getting 4, getting 8, getting 3, getting 4, getting 5, getting 8, getting 3, and get down the field. I don't know if you can do that, but because that team, it's got some talent, but it ain't got the depth that we got, we're able to do that to them. And so they was able. So this is how I know we were the physicality of the offensive and defensive line. And so when I speak of physicality, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about along the offensive and the defensive lines, being able to, what they always say to me in football, you got to be able to move a man against his will. The player's going this way. I need to move this guy this way so this running back can cut up in there and get his yards. So he's trying to stop me from moving him in that direction. So I have to influence him to move in the direction that I want him to move in. And that takes some to do that. And so we was able to do that. And then on the other end, they're trying to do the same thing to our defense, and we're able to we ain't going that way. We're going right where that ball carrier at. So how do I know that? Because we was able to rush for 300 yards, and they rushed for 74. Okay. How do I know that? Because Bryce Young was sacked twice, I think. Desmond Ridder was sacked 6 times and hurried like 4 other times. 4 other times got passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. That tells you the defensive line is getting into his face. That means they're pushing his offensive line back on him. Those are little things to let you know one team has a physical advantage over the other team. So that's what we was able to do. All right. So that was the story of that game. It really wasn't what you call Brooks had like a 44-yard touchdown catch. That was the one that caught the winning touchdown in the Auburn game, just in case, number 7. He'll probably be starting next week, But it was basically a business-like game. Like, like when you go to the office and you got your briefcase and your laptop and you go to work and a cup of coffee and you go into work, and then at like 4:59, you looking at the clock, and then when you hit that thing on your computer to clock you out, you go home. That's what that was like. It was like a day at the office. Okay, no fanfare, no fireworks, no nothing. Although my man JoJo Earl liked to start some fireworks in the second quarter, fumbling that punt. You better clean that stuff up, JoJo. We got that punt back, that fumble back. But other than that, oh yeah, Bryce did throw an interception. Got a little pressure, threw it over the middle to Jameson Williams, overthrew him just a little bit, and it got picked. I thought that guy dropped that, but whatever, we'll give him that. So we gave them an interception and almost a fumble and stuff, and still wasn't enough. And then too, here's some things. Now, when we were down one wide receiver, when we're going with Ja'Cory Brooks and Slay Bolden playing, you're using Ja'Cory Brooks for his speed, and you're using Slay Bolden for his craftiness and underneath route running. He caught the first touchdown. He's a very crafty like that. Slay Bolden is number 18. He's very good like that. Kind of underrated speed too, if you understand what I'm saying. And so those two guys will be together, would be doing what John Mechie does by himself. And then now late in the third quarter, Jameson Williams got a shoulder, and he got cracked pretty hard on a kick return, and looked like he got some shoulder things going on. But he came back in the game. I don't know if he caught another pass. I think he caught like 7 catches for 76 yards or 62 yards rather, and caught a 20-yard on 3rd and 14 too. It was a big play in that game. So if he's going to be good next week, we'll be good. But we did lose. I think we did lose Chris Owens, the offensive tackle, right tackle. I saw him limp off the field. I hope he's going to be ready for next week. Okay, because obviously when you win, you keep playing. So I would grade this game probably B plus. B or B plus, because I thought we did just what we were supposed to do. We were the better team. We didn't do nothing fancy, no exotic plays. Then we did just enough to win the game. It was another day at the office, kind of like when we beat Notre Dame last year in the semifinal with a 31-14. Just kind of business, like just kind of hey, we come here on a business trip. We're gonna get our job done. So now we go on to. And I was kind of, waiting to do until I find out who he's going to play. So come find out, we will be playing Georgia again. I wanted it to be Michigan. Not that I'm scared of Georgia or anything like that, but it's kind of hard to beat a team twice in a row. Especially when you embarrassed them like they did when they were supposed to have won. They're supposed to have beaten you, and you just hand it to them like you did. So we off now to the CFP, excuse me, we're off to the Alabama Invitational. That's what I call it. Because ever since there has been CFP, except for 1 year when we was like, we tired. We've been doing this traveling, that stuff every year. Let's let somebody else get it this year. We're going to take a break. We're going to spend some holidays with our families and do all this kind of stuff. So in 2019, we left that thing alone, and we just had a regular good year, a 12-2, 12-1 year, and just went on about our business. 12-2, I should say, and went on about our business. And 11-2, 12-2. 11-2. It was 11-2. And went on about our business, and let LSU do that thing, and then of course But it's a funny thing about when you lose something. See, it ain't lost if you know where it laid. Woo-wee! It ain't lost if you know where you live. Because the very next year we were right and picked that thing right back up. And it was right where it was when we left it. We went right back. And then next year, we're right back and pick that thing right back up. See, ain't nothing lost if you know where it is. You can go right back and put your hands back on it. So we went back and got it. So we didn't lose the thing in 2019. We went back and picked it up. We remember where it was, went back and got it. Now it's back in our, in the clutches of our, in our hands now. It's back in our, we own that now. So now we go back to the Alabama Invitational, otherwise known as the CFP Championship game, coming to be next Monday, January 10th at Lucas Oil Field in Indianapolis, Indiana, for the very first time. That's often the site of the Big Ten championship game. This year it's going to be the site of the Natty, or whatever is otherwise called the Natty. And ever since they've been having that thing, they've had it 8 years? We've been in it 7. Started the thing in 2014. Got knocked out in the first round because the very first one, we wanted some bigger name program to win it. We're like, oh, all righty then. You don't want us, but you know what? That very next year, we right back there knocking on the door and kicked the door down and won it again. You know what? That very next year, we knocked it on it again. We kind of took an L on that one, but that's all right. Because that very next year, right back in it, knocked the door down again. Okay? And so in the very next year, right back at it, we took an L that year. But you know what? You got to be in them to lose them. Okay? And so the very next year, last year, kicked that door down again with another perfect season. So right back this year, I'm thinking, with all the people we lost, I'm thinking that maybe this might not be a year that we're going to play for championship. What was I thinking? Anytime you lose a Mac Jones, you usually lose a Devontae Smith, you lose a Jalen Waddle, you lose a what's the center's name? God, I can't think of his name. He's an Outland Trophy winner. God, can't I think? It'll come to me in a minute. It'll come to me. Anytime you lose a Patrick Surtain, a Najee Harris, all these guys is first round draft picks. Mac Jones and all those guys, they're all first round draft picks. Christian Darmore, first round draft pick, second round draft pick. But all those guys were on that. You lose a lot of personnel. Okay. Landon Dickerson, that's his name. Landon Dickerson. I know it'll come to me in a minute. Okay. You're losing all those guys. Alex Leatherwood. Okay. You're losing a lot of guys. Okay. So we might be rebuilding this year, but rebuilding for Alabama 11-2. That's rebuilding for us. Okay. Shoot. He said, man, bump this rebuilding. We reloading. We right back in the Natty again. Right back in the Alabama Invitational again. Okay. Where we supposed to be. Okay. Where we're supposed to be. Okay. Certain things are just part of your nature. It's like, like air, breathing air and, and these sorts of things. And, being a mammal, these things are just natural to and going to the Natty. Playing for and going to the Natty. So we're going to the Natty January 10th, 2022 at Lucas Oil Field, Indianapolis, Indiana, for an opportunity to win the 7th national championship in the Nick Saban era. It's going to be epic. Now, some of my game balls, certainly, let me tell you who game ball. The number one game ball, I'm going to go Brian Robinson Jr. This is a guy that waited his turn, waited behind Najee Harris, played some last year. Trey Sanders was supposed to be the guy, but Trey Sanders has overcome a lot of things, had a bad injury to his ankle, been in a devastating car wreck, just now getting back. He had a nice game today in the semifinal game. He's number 6. He had a pretty good game, but he's come a long way back from where but he was the number 1 running back in the country when he got recruited. Okay. So obviously, he was going to get the nod over Brian Robinson. So Brian Robinson has waited his turn, waited behind Najee, waited behind Damian Harris waited behind Jacobs, waited behind all them guys, getting some spot carries here and there. In his 5th year, and his because he could have went to other teams. The guy that's the running back for the Cincinnati Bearcats, Jerome Ford, they was in the same backfield. He played at Alabama for 2 years, then decided, you know what, I can be playing for somebody else. So this year had 1,244 yards and 19 touchdowns. You know, good running back. He would have been great this year if we'd have had it, but he wanted to do something else. And I don't blame him for that. Do what you got to do. But Brian Robinson said, my future is here. He's a Tuscaloosa native, went to Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa, grew up just miles from the campus, okay? And so he fulfilled his dream, playing significant roles in the championship atmosphere for his hometown team, waited through all the times. Today he rushed 26 times for 204 yards, most yards he's ever rushed for. Most yards ever for Alabama running back in a bowl game. Okay. So Brian Robinson Jr. gets a game ball. And I'm gonna give the other game ball to Bryce Young because you know he wasn't spectacular, but he was steady. 17 of 28, 181 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did throw that 1 interception, but he managed the game, ran when he needed to, threw it away when it wasn't there. Remember, he's playing against 2 All-American corners against our depleted wide receiver group that we've got, and he had to be real judicious with the football. That's why we ran the ball as much as we did, because we had a schematic advantage in the trenches against them. So we just used that. Run it until they stop it. On defense, got to go with Will Anderson Jr. 2 sacks and several other pressures. He was all over the back. He had, I think he had a tip pass, and then for Darian Mathis, he was phenomenal. He had a sack and a couple of knockdown passes as they collapsed the pocket on almost every other play on Desmond Ridder. Okay, and so those 2 get my game ball. So I go with Brian Robinson Jr. and Bryce on offense, and then Will Anderson Jr. and Fedarian Mathis on defense. And so that's what we're gonna do there. For those 2 guys, those 4 guys get my game balls for this week. So we're going to next week. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I'm Crimson Tide. You see me how I'm decked out. I'm Crimson Tide through and through. But we got our hands full next week. I saw Georgia dispatch Michigan 34-11. They was never in that game. It was obviously a talent disparity between those 2 teams. Okay. And we're not going to be able to implement the same game plan next week that we did a month ago, because our situation and our circumstances are different. Okay. We just lost an offensive lineman. I don't know if he's going to be available in Owen, so I don't know what kind of pass protection we're going to be able to have. And we down John Mechie, so I don't know if we're going to be able to, utilize the middle of the field and stuff like that. The other wide receivers are kind of inexperienced, but they're talented because they're obviously 4- and 5-star receivers, because that's usually the only thing we deal with. And so a defense could conceivably double cover Jameson Williams all the way and just make one of them other receivers beat us. And see, we're not going to have the physical advantage on the line of scrimmage against Georgia. Have you seen what's that dude named Jacob Davis? Have you seen this guy? In Nairobi, you've seen them guys? Okay. They come into play, all right, and they got that bitter taste in their mouth from a month ago. So we're gonna have to come up with a game plan, with our limited staff and what we got to win the game. But I think we're fully capable of doing that, though. So let's see what happens on next week, and I'll probably come through with a video in a few days to get us fired up, get us hyped up. For the championship game, the Natty or the Alabama Invitational, as I like to call it. But yeah, man, we ready for that thing. We ready, man. We ready. We ain't scared. We ain't scared. We playing the SEC. Now, that's a whole different ball game. Now I'm gonna give you this. Now my friend I was telling, he was like, man, I want to see all SEC. I'm like, look, man. Now I'll admit it would be better if there was teams from other parts of the country that was good enough to get in this thing. And I know there's some things that people have wrote. I've read all kind of things, man. We've got to expand this thing. Why? Because obviously Cincinnati, you know, if it wasn't Cincinnati, who was it going to be? It was going to be what? Oklahoma State. You thought they was going to beat Bama? Okay. What about Notre Dame? Notre Dame couldn't beat Cincinnati. So you thought they was going to beat Bama or Georgia? You thought they was going to beat them? The two games today showed you the top end of the SEC is better than anybody else that's playing college football. I don't care what you say. The numbers bear it all. Okay, they got beat 37-11, and it's almost like to being the two SEC teams held the other team without a touchdown. But Michigan got a late consolation cosmetic touchdown and a 2-point conversion. It was 34-3 with like a minute left to go or 2 minutes left to go in that game. Wasn't even close. Okay, just dominating them all up and down the line of scrimmage, and that team dominated Ohio State. Okay, so that lets you know the talent level. And we got our work cut out for us next week. It ain't going to be no easy win one way or the other, okay? But I fully expect us to go in there and compete and get that thing and bring that daddy back and where it rightfully belongs, okay? And that's what we're going to do. So on our way out, let's go ahead and let's hit this one more time. If I can get this thing to do right. I'm gonna play it.